Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021 at 3 p.m. and we are calling the Traffic Committee meeting to session. Brief introductions. My name is Melissa Demirci and I'm with the City's Traffic Engineering Department.
Jana Robbins with the City's Traffic Department.
Leonardo Martinez, Associate Engineer, Engineering Department.
Paulina Morales, Assistant City Manager, here on behalf of the Police Department.
And with that, I'll go ahead and move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is a review of the previous Traffic Committee items approved at the previous Traffic Committee meeting. As a recap, the first item that was reviewed at the last meeting was a red curb review. And then the second item was a traffic review at the intersection of Hollenbach Street at Rio Verde Drive. Both of these items will be going before City Council for final approval. We also had a discussion item along Azusa Avenue, south of Garvey Avenue. We will be bringing that forward at a future meeting to discuss recommendations. I'm going to go ahead now and move to new Traffic Committee items. I'll start with item 3A. Item 3A is a traffic review at the intersection of Roland Avenue and Leith Avenue. The city received a resident request to review the line of sight conditions at the intersection of Roland Avenue and Leith Avenue. We did follow CMUCD and CBC guidelines, as well as conducted a traffic review that included existing roadway conditions review, collision history review, as well as a line of sight analysis. We took a look at the area. In total, we found out that there were 2 reported collisions that took place per SWITRS, which is the statewide integrated traffic record system. We also conducted a line of sight review per AASHTO, table 3-1, to determine how much red curb clearance would be needed for visibility and clear sight distance. Based on that review, we are recommending a few installations of red curb in these areas. The first is we're recommending to install approximately 20 feet of red curb along the north side of Roland Avenue, beginning from the west corner of Roland Avenue and Leith Avenue as shown in the diagram. This additional red curb will improve line of sight for left turning vehicles and will prevent vehicles from parking too close to Leith Avenue. The second red curb location we are recommending is approximately 10 feet of red curb on the other side to add to the existing already 75 feet of red curb. This will total 85 feet of red curb and it will still allow for 28 feet of parking for residents along the north side of Roland Avenue. That concludes our analysis and our recommendations. With that, comments, I will go on to comments from audience on item. There are no audience members present for this item currently. And the next item is comments from committee members. Do I have any comments or questions about this recommendations?
So filling in for the city engineer, Michael Ackerman, and he had a chance to review the report and he had no comments on the report.
Thank you, Leah.
No other comments. It's still, Roland is posted 40 miles an hour, so we needed the extra red for people waiting at Leith to exit to see approaching vehicles, especially in the curb lane. So that's why we needed the extra red. So as you'll see, based on AASHTO, this is the amount of red curb they needed to have a clear sight for cars exiting Leith Avenue.
Okay. And with that, we'll go on to vote on this item. Again, this is for recommendations that will be finalized by City Council. With that, all in favor that approve the recommendations as listed, please say aye.
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 All who oppose? All right, so this item was approved by the Traffic Committee unanimously, and we will be putting this in a future staff report for City Council for final approval. And once approved by City Council, these items will be installed. I'm going to go ahead now and move on to item B, 3B, new Traffic Committee items, which this is our last new item for today's meeting. And with that, our item is a flashing stop sign traffic review at various locations. The city received a request to review intersections at multiple locations in the city. In total, the city received a request to look at 6 intersections, and the request was to see if flashing stop signs were an option at these or what we could do to improve the existing stop locations. We did, as part of our traffic review, we did look at the existing roadway conditions, 5.5 years of collision history. We also conducted peak hour traffic counts, as well as vehicle observation at the stop signs at the various locations. And you can see before you, the 6 locations include Maple Grove Street at Lark Ellen, Fairgrove Avenue at Lark Ellen, Merced Avenue at Lark Ellen, Vine at Lark Ellen, Walnut Creek Parkway and Glendora, as well as Citrus Street at Cortez Street.
And then Melissa, I just wanted to cut in, is that this came from multiple residents, so it wasn't just one resident asking for all 6, but because it was similar, we rolled them into one report to kind of keep how we decided with our engineering review. So we put it into one report, but it was by multiple residents who requested these locations.
Correct. And we also, even though it's in one report, we analyzed and looked at each location individually within this report. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the prioritization of flashing stop signs. In 2018, the city adopted an active transportation plan. And in line with these plans are goals and policies for improving access and circulation. And the following 6 intersections that we listed earlier were part of that ATP plan. We have a goal of upgrading the signage and striping at these 6 locations to improve the visibility of the existing stop signs. And the following countermeasures could also be considered, which is improving visibility of the sign, removal of obstructions, repaint and refresh the full intersection, add additional advanced warning signage, double marking stop aheads or stop signs, increase the actual size of the stop sign, and selective enforcement. I'm going to go ahead and start with the first intersection, which is our location 1 at Maple Grove and Lark Ellen. We did conduct an existing conditions review. It is posted at around 40 miles per hour south of Maple Grove and 35 north of it.
The difference, not to break in again, is the difference at north of this intersection. It has a pocket of LA County. So our West Covina has a posted speed of 40, but the county part has a posted speed of 35.
Correct. Thank you, Jana. And we also did some field visits and a site view of the intersections. I apologize. There we go. And we also conducted peak hour turning movement counts to determine how many cars were traveling through the intersection and making left turns, through and right turns. We also did a pedestrian count, and also we broke down how many vehicles actually rolled through the intersection versus actually stopped at the intersection or ran the intersection itself. In addition to our analysis, we conducted a collision investigation over a 5.5 year period using SWITRs. Again, that's the statewide integrated traffic record system. For this location, we conducted a diagram of those collisions. And based on the analysis that we conducted, we are proposing for this location to do a refresh of the full intersection in terms of restriping, making it more visible, re-stenciling the stop, as well as swapping out the existing stop signs with new, larger, oversized stop signs with a 4-way plaque underneath, as well as install red reflective tape on each of the poles. This will really add to the visibility of the actual intersection and the stop signs itself. We are also recommending to install a stop ahead sign ahead of the stop sign south of Maple Grove Avenue to alert vehicles that there is a stop ahead at that intersection. That is for item 1. I'm thinking I should go over each of the recommendations, or do we want to vote one by one?
For each location?
For each location.
I think you could just do each location.
Okay.
But you know, you can kind of, do we have a picture of the proposed?
Yes.
There we go.
This is the proposed diagram. So for this, then, before I move on to, is there any comments?
We also added 10 feet where needed at the corners to make it, because we did notice that at this location in particular, there's heavy parking right up to the stop sign. So if you have an SUV or a van parked there, they're blocking the stop sign. So we're suggesting 10 feet of red curb. So it's not eliminating a lot of parking, but it's enough that approaching vehicles will be able to see the stop sign. So you'll notice in some of our other locations, we also suggest that. Some locations already have red curb, so it's not anything new. So when we do the refreshing, it will be just refreshing the red curb as well.
Correct.
Yeah, the city engineer didn't have any comments on this one.
Any other comments? Okay, let's go on then. I'll take a vote. All in favor of the approving the recommendations for location 1 at Maple Grove Street and Lark Ellen, say aye.
Aye.
All who do not approve? All right, so this item will be brought forth for City Council final approval and review for installation. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to location 2. This similar analysis was conducted for location 2. Location 2 is Lark Ellen and Fairgrove Avenue. We did field observations, field photos, as well as turning movement counts, as well as the breakdown of the type of vehicle behavior that was taking place in terms of rolling the stop sign, fully stop, or running the stop sign. We also did a collision investigation using SWITTers and conducted a collision diagram for this location. And based on the analysis for this location, we are recommending a full upgrade of the intersection in terms of repainting the area to refresh it, as well as that 10 feet of red curb, as Jana had mentioned, to deter vehicles from parking right up to the stop sign, so there's more clearance of visibility. And in this situation, for this location, we are recommending to upgrade the stop signs to solar-powered LED flashing stop signs oversized with a 4-way plaque underneath the stop signs for all of the stop locations, as well as a red reflective strip on each of the stop sign posts. We also are recommending to install a highly visible, the stop ahead sign ahead of the stop sign, as well as repaint the existing crosswalks with ladder stripe to add to more visibility for vehicles as well as pedestrians, and also ensure that there are ADA compliant truncated domes on the northeast and southeast corners of the crosswalk, since there are existing crosswalks there. This is again similar in our analysis to the previous location. With that, I'll open it up to any committee questions or comments.
Yeah, the city engineer did not have any comments on this.
This one did meet our recommendation to have the solar LED stop signs. So that's the only difference on the other. Everything else will be refreshed, repainted, but it will have the solar stop signs, LED flashing. And when we say the solar flashing beacons, or not beacons, the LED lights, they flash all the time. It's not something that comes on when a car comes or a ped, it's continual flash.
Correct. And also when she mentions meeting the warrants, these are per CMUCDC and CDC standards that has to meet certain warrants and thresholds to be able to install flashing stop signs. So all in favor to approve the recommendations listed?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, this item for Fairgrove and Lark Ellen will be presented to City Council for final approval and installation. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item 3. Item 3 is very similar to location 3 is very similar to location 2. Again, we did a review of the existing conditions, field photos, turning movement counts, as well as the vehicle behavior at the stop sign, as well as conducted a collision investigation per SWITTers and a collision diagram. And we are recommending for this one, similar to the other one, to go ahead and refresh the entire crosswalk, the entire intersection, including repainting the existing crosswalks in yellow ladder stripe. And the reason for the yellow is because of the proximity to the school. And for the stop signs, we are again recommending to upgrade it to LED flashing stop signs, oversized with the 4-way plaque underneath, as well as the red posts. And also install a pedestrian ahead signage on Merced Avenue approaching Lark Ellen, and ensure that there are ADA compliant truncated domes for this crossing. So it is very similar to the previous location.
Do you want to?
There we go.
So the difference in this one is that we are installing ladder striping. So any new school crossing that's near a school that's yellow, we're adding the ladder, which are the bars in between the crossing, so that it just makes it more reflective for pedestrians crossing.
Correct. And is there any committee member comments on this item?
No comments from the city engineer.
Just one question. Why
Yes.
is there only one highly reflective stop sign ahead that's going to is being proposed?
We only proposing them on the location that it's not there.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
the other locations, if we don't propose it,
They
they're
have it.
Yeah,
existing.
if we look on figure 3 on page 18, there's an
Mhm.
existing one.
And it looks like you're proposing it in a location that's already there.
Right. So if we looked at it and we said, oh, there's one there, we're not going to replace it. If it looked okay.
Yeah. So if we're showing it as replaced, it's because it's usually faded. So it just needs to be
okay.
refreshed,
Faded,
faded,
something.
graffitied,
Okay.
and it needs to be reinstalled at the same location. Any other comments?
That was it.
Okay. All right, so all in favor to approve the recommendations for the intersection of Merced and Lark Ellen as expressed, say aye.
Aye.
All who oppose? All right, so this item was approved by the traffic committee and will be presented to city council for final approval and installation. I'm going to go ahead and go on to location number 4, which is Vine Avenue and Lark Evan Avenue. Again, a very similar approach was taken in the analysis of this in terms of doing a field investigation, existing conditions, field photos, conducting peak hour turning movement counts, as well as analyzing the vehicle behaviors at the actual stop intersections, and conducting a collision investigation per Switters and a collision diagram. And with all of the analysis that we did, we are recommending for this location as well to install solar-powered LED flashing signs, stop signs with the red reflective strip on each of the poles, as well as the 4-way stop plaque underneath the stop sign. As well as in this situation, we are recommending to add the 10 feet of red curb right up to the approach of the intersection itself to deter vehicles from parking up to that edge there, as well as install highly reflective stop ahead sign where needed, and repaint the crosswalk at the intersection as is, as well as add the ladder striping option in this crosswalk in white. Since it is not near school, we are doing white striping for this case. Do I have any comments?
Just as a note, I know I said in the last comment that the school crossing, there's ladder. If we feel that it needs the LED stop signs, then it needs some upgrade and some visibility, so we're also doing white ladder as well.
Yeah, the city engineer did not have any comments on this.
Any other comments on this item? All right. All in favor of approving the proposed recommendation at the intersection of Vine and Lark Ellen?
Aye.
Say aye. All who oppose? All right, so this item will be presented to City Council for final approval as well as installation. I will move on now to location number 5 of 6. Location number 5 is Walnut Creek at Glendora Avenue. Again, a similar approach was taken in terms of our engineering analysis, which included a field review, existing conditions review, field photos, as well as we conducted peak hour turning movement counts, and also evaluated the vehicle behavior at the actual stop sign. We also did a collision investigation using Switters and a collision diagram. And similar to the previous location, this also met justification for solar-powered LED flashing stop signs. We are recommending a full upgrade of the stop intersection, which includes solar-powered flashing stop signs with the red reflective tape, 4-way stop plaque underneath, as well as installation of the stop ahead signage where needed, approaching the intersection, and also repainting the existing crosswalk in white ladder striping. And that concludes the recap of the recommendations for this item. Is there any committee member comments or questions?
No comments from the city engineer, but should we switch to the
Yes.
recommendations?
No comments?
All right. All in favor to approve the upgrades as listed for the intersection of Walnut Creek and Glendora Avenue, please say aye.
Aye.
All who don't. All right, so this item is unanimously approved by the traffic committee and will be presented to city council for final approval and installation. I'm now moving on to our final location, location number 6, which is Cortez Street at Citrus Street. Again, a very similar approach was taken in terms of our engineering analysis, which consisted of an existing conditions review, a field review, field photos, as well as peak turning movement count review at the intersection and vehicle behavior at the stop signs during certain peak hours, as well as a collision investigation per Switters and a collision diagram. Based on the engineering analysis that we conducted, this location also did meet justification for installation of solar-powered LED flashing stop signs. So we are recommending to install the flashing stop signs as well as the 4-way stop plaque underneath and a red reflective strip on each of the stop poles. Inclusive is also going to be repainting the existing crosswalks in white ladder, as well as adding 10 feet of red curb, how we did in some of the other locations, to deter vehicles from parking right up to the intersection, and installing highly reflective stop sign ahead at locations and areas that do need it, and reviewing the ADA and ensuring that the truncated domes are compliant. Do I have any questions for this item?
No comments from the city engineer.
Okay. And with that, I will go ahead and ask committee members, do you approve, all in favor of approving the recommendations as presented? Please say aye.
Aye.
All who oppose? All right, so this item will also go before City Council for final review and approval. And, you know, the remaining in the report are kind of the backlog of the traffic counts conducted from the machine. And with that, that concludes the new items. I'm going to go ahead and move on to...
Before we
Oh, yes.
go, I just want to make a comment that in addition to Switters accidents, we also check the police department police reports for 2021, because those sometimes are not shown in Switters, so we did check those manually.
Correct.
And if we found some that weren't included in Switters, they were added to our table.
And with that, I will move on to item number 4, which is audience comments on items not on agenda. There are no audience members present today. Committee member comments on items on the agenda. Any comments?
No comments.
Okay. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.